नमस्ते, हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया. I am JVN Dr.LILY TRIVEDI from JAYOTI VIDYAPEETH Women's University, and today I am going to take the class of BSCBED 4 SEM ZBC. And today the topic of my session is biotic factors as an ecological factor and their importance. Now, if we come to what are the biotic factors, the biotic factors are those in which the living organisms are present. So here we have the green and the non-green plants and all animals including man. Now the activity of these organisms have a profound effect either directly or indirectly upon the growth, structure, reproduction and distribution of plants on the earth. These biotic factors can be classified in three groups for our convenience. The first group is interrelationship between different plants of a particular area. Now, the plants of a community affect the morphology, reproduction, and other activities of other plants in the same community. There is extensive competition for food, light, water, minerals, and organic matter. Now, this kind of competition is called intra-specific competition. Some groups of plants exist widely in a particular environment and other plants in another environment, and they influence the environment. For example, if we see the big trees reduce the intensity of sunlight from reaching the underground small plants. However, the big trees also protect the small plants from strong wind and high temperature. So there is an example of mutual relationship between these two plants. For example, let's take lianas. Now what are lianas? They are woody plants rooted on the ground, but they climb with the support of other trees and reach the top of the canopy. So they are called autotrophs and they are found in the dense tropical forest. We have some example of these lianas are Tinospora, usually called as giloi, and Baunia valai. Then another kind of plants are epiphytes. What are epiphytes? They grow on other plants but are not attached to the soil. They are also autotrophs because they do not obtain food from the supporting plant, like the member of Orchidaceae vanda and many other moss and ferns. So they obtain water and minerals through their roots, which absorb the water present in the crevices and cracks of the supporting tree. The orchid roots absorb the water from the saturated atmosphere, rain and dewdrops because they have special roots in which there is a special tissue called the velamen tissue. The third type is the parasites. Now they are called parasitic because they are dependent on their host plant. They have special sucking roots called hosteria. Now they can be the total parasites or partial parasites depending upon their requirement of food, water and minerals. They can be root parasites or stem parasites. So we have some examples like total stem parasite is Cuscuta, partial stem parasite is Loranthus viscum, then total root parasite is Oroblanchi, Rafflesia, partial root parasite is Striga and Santalum album. Now there is another relationship that is symbiotic plants. Now what are symbiotic plants? When there is perfect symbiosis between two plants. For example, in lichens, the algae and the fungi, they live together, they are mutually benefit to each other. The algae synthesize the organic food for the fungal partner, whereas the fungus provides mineral elements and moisture to the algae. So that was one type of relationship in which we have discussed these four. The second is interrelationship between plants and animals occupying the same area. Now, how can be? It can be either beneficial or harmful. So first is pollination. So the brightly colored flowers and scented or honey producing, they are attracting the insects that like salvia, calotropis, ficus, they are attracting. Then we have the animals which are grazing on the ground or eating fruits. So they are also helping in pollination. Second is dispersal of seeds and fruits. So all animals help in the dispersal of seed and fruits. Sometimes the field seeds fail to germinate unless and until they have passed through the gut of the birds. So grazing animals like help in the dispersal of many seeds and fruits like xanthium, which stick to the body of the animals and are dispersed to other areas. Insectivorous plants. Now we have insectivorous plants also like Drosera, sundew, sundew is the another name. Then we have Dionia, Venus flytrap is the common name, Articudaria or bladderwort. Then we have the Nepenthes, that is the pitcher plant. Now these plants are growing in area which is nitrogen deficient. To compensate, they start eating the insects. So they have different modifications so as to digest the insects and make available for the plant. So the proteolytic enzymes are present. Then between animal and plants, we have another relationship that is myrmecophily, which means association of ants with trees. The trees provide a habitat for the ants, and while the trees get protection with the help of ants. So we have different insects like ants are very much present on most of the trees. Grazing and browsing. What is grazing and browsing? Is an intense factor which is affecting the grazed plant community, like which we are calling pasture. Now what happens here, when there is intense grazing, the vegetation disappears and soil gets erosive and is exposed to soil erosion by wind and water. In arid zone, if there is intense grazing, a desert-like appearance is seen. Grazing also caused the introduction of nitrophilous communities, rodents, rats, squirrel, rabbit, birds. They feed upon standing crop, and when they are grazed, there is a loss of these animals. So first we have studied the interrelationship between two plants communities. Second, we have studied interrelationship between animal and plant. Now third, we are going to study the interrelationship between soil microorganisms and plants. So a large number of animals and plants live under the soil surface. As a result, the vegetation is greatly affected. Now, we have algae, fungi, bacteria on the roots and rhizome of some plants, and protozoa, nematodes, insects, mites, burrowing vegetables, earthworms, they also have a significant effect. So let us take some more activities under this. The decay of dead organic matter, as we all know, it is an important part of the ecosystem, and the soil microflora on the dead organic matter converts it into simple form, which is utilized by higher plants. So the fertility of the soil is increased and there is a significant positive effect on the growth of plants. Second is nitrogen fixation. So both terrestrial and aquatic plants are dependent on nitrogen for production. Now, This nitrogen cannot be taken up directly by the plants, so it is taken up by the plant in the form of nitrates and ammonium salts or organic salts. And for this, soil microorganisms like bacteria, Clostridium bacteria, Azotobacter, and Bejernicia, they are the nitrogen fixing bacteria. Certain algae like nostoc and anabina are also capable of nitrogen fixation, and they add to the fertility of soil. Now, some of the microorganisms also secrete other substances like growth promoting substances or mucilage. Now, this helps in the conversion of the soil into microparticles into large aggregates, and the growth promoting substances help in the growth of the plant. Now, plant diseases are also caused by soil microorganisms, and we have a whole subject on that. Then aeration of the soil by the burrowing vertebrates, earthworms, and decaying roots provide aeration and water holding capacity to the soil. And of course, we have already studied mycorrhiza. It is a symbiotic association between the fungi and roots of higher plants. Now they can be ectophytic like or endophytic. Now there is another influence of antibiosis. What is antibiosis? The phenomena of inhibition, complete or partial, by one organism by another by secretion of some substances. Now these substances modify the immediate environment and affect the growth. Now last but not the least, the influence of man on vegetation. So man has always been affecting the vegetation. It has major activities. It has changed the badly managed farms into well-managed farms, or the well-managed farm into badly managed farm, depending on the vegetation and the kind of production it is being done. So human interest is the main role which causes a problem. For example, new animals, new plants are brought in the existing vegetation, and which can change the area or the ecosystem of that area. Now, for example, in Australia, rabbits were introduced. Now, these rabbits became a problem for the natives and caused devastation in large areas of that country. Sometimes in some activities, the burning of vegetation is there. They burn the vegetation to destroy the upper part and make it available for farming. Now this also reduces the fertility of soil. Now we have the plants after burning. What happens? The low nitrogen is there, so plants like Markensia and Funaria start growing there. So the vegetation is changed, and as such the pH is also changed and the soil becomes acidic. So fire has a main effect. Can be brought about by man, and it affects the vegetation of that area. So students, I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please write in the comment box. It will be resolved soon. In the next lecture, we will be taking the ecosystem, in which we will take the different topics of ecosystem like the biotic structure of ecosystem. So thank you. This digital session was powered by 2.0 version of JAYOTI VIDYAPEETH Women's University. Thank you. Namaste. Pushpa.